With AEW possibly going on an international tour and WWE Network partners not wanting Ric Flair back, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for October 2nd. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Speaking on the AEW Unrestricted podcast, CM Punk noted his desire to assist young talent on the roster, explaining how he wants to do that. I think saying I'm here to mentor and all that other stuff, I think that can be a slippery slope because I don't think there's a one right way to do most of anything. Through trial and error, I think I've found that just leading by example is possibly the best way to do stuff. When I was a kid, I would watch wrestling and I would be like, whoa, holy crap, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels are great. I want to do what they do. You kind of formulate the opinion in your head. Well, those are guys that I want to emulate, and I want to wrestle like them. You want to be like them. A guy like Eddie Guerrero, same thing. And then you eventually wind up working with these guys, and then you can pick their brains. But also, watch what they do. Understand that there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And then if you have the ability to ask them, hey, why do you do this? Or why don't you do this? I think that's the best way to do it. I'm not there to watch the entire show, and when people are done, be like, hey, you did this right, you did this wrong. But I am there to help, so if anybody wants the help, all they got to do is ask. I always try to preface it with, look, you can ask 10 people. You're going to get 10 different opinions. Mine is not correct. Just understand that, and this is why I do certain things. But also, I think just me going in the ring and doing what I do, or just show I conduct myself backstage, doing commentary, whatever it is, I think a lot of people could just watch that and be like, okay, it's not 100% the only right way to do something, but that is the right way to do it. CM Punk is not only a great asset to AEW for his drawing power, but is a great talent to have backstage to help those young up-and-coming stars. After his time in WWE, Kurt Angle found himself signed to TNA. Still, he had aspirations in the world of mixed martial arts, as he noted on his podcast that he was in talks with UFC. When I left WWE, I started training a little bit at the Pittsburgh Fight Club, and I did it for about 3 or 4 months. Even when I signed with TNA, I was still doing the training, and I wanted to become more knowledgeable and keep my options open of a big MMA fight down the road. I started training jiu-jitsu, stand-up fighting, boxing, learning all the trades so I could be well versed and well prepared if I ever did have a fight. It never occurred, and I got lost into wrestling again. I love pro wrestling, and there was nothing that was going to keep me from it. When the UFC offered me a deal when I left WWE, it was a really good deal, but I told Dana that I had to wrestle too, and he said, there's no way you can wrestle and fight. He's right. That was a stupid idea that I had in my head to think that I could do both. I would not have survived very long doing both, but that's what I wanted, and Dana would not allow me to, so I had to turn down his offer. Angle was then asked if the UFC had come up with an opponent for him, as Dana White apparently chose former Tough Enough winner Daniel Puder due to their previous interaction on Smackdown. He was not very specific on saying we're going to protect you, but the opponent that he gave me at the beginning was a good opponent, very intriguing from a public interest standpoint, especially from a pro wrestling fan standpoint. Very intriguing because he didn't have a lot of experience in MMA. He only fought a couple of times, but I had a little episode with him in WWE that was Daniel Puder, and when Dana said that to me, I said, are you serious? Daniel Puder? That's all? Not that I thought Puder was easy, because he actually had my arm trapped and he would have broken my arm when we did our little episode on Smackdown. I just knew that I could beat Daniel, especially if I rested and let my neck heal. When I worked with Puder in WWE, I just got back from neck surgery and my arms were so weak I couldn't do 5 push-ups, really vulnerable. Not sure why WWE had me get in the ring with Puder knowing my condition, but they did. I ended up getting caught in a situation that could have turned ugly, but fortunately Daniel pinned himself and was on his back like a jiu-jitsu guy would be. I was excited about the first fight. Daniel Puder, a formidable opponent for me at that particular time, not too overbearing. It was a good starting fight for me. I knew Dana was caring about my career in MMA because he was giving me an opponent that I could possibly beat. Kurt Angle was able to carve out an incredible career in wrestling, but it will always be wondered how he would have fared in the world of MMA. WWE Champion Big E was officially drafted to Monday Night Raw, and with Renee Paquette, he touched on his victory over Lashley and expressed interest in facing Goldberg. I suppose it has sunk in. For me, I don't want there to ever be a moment where I feel like I've had an I made it moment. We're like, alright, you've done it and now you're good. You can coast. That's when you stop growing. That's when you stop getting better. Nothing good comes from that. So for me, I suppose in a sense, I don't necessarily feel a pressure, but I know there's an added responsibility. So for me, it's still just go out there and perform to the best of your ability. And that's always been my perception. But I do think there are ways that I want to just tweak my presentation. When you're the guy, it's a little bit different than when you're in a 3-man group working tag matches. So just the way I carry myself will be a little bit different. But that's all a feel thing. And I always feel like every performer should have an internal barometer, and you should have an understanding of when to change things. You should have an understanding of how the fans are reacting to you on a weekly basis. For me, that's just a matter of feeling things out. But it's nice that there's this new challenge, and that's all I really wanted in my career, was to not feel bored or stale. And I'm glad we have something new to attack. There's a bunch of things that I never, like the Goldberg match. When I was making my stupid little comebacks about being a main event, I never thought I'd get the Goldberg match. But now I sit in a position where, maybe if I make some noise, we can get that done. And people will feel different ways about that. I understand that, and I appreciate fans who have an affinity to the performers who are there on the house shows, working every single night. Because I feel like we are the heart of this company. We're the ones that keep this thing going. But in the same vein, if someone were to throw a bundle of cash at me at the age of 50 to work 2 or 3 times a year, who am I to turn that down? So we'll see. But yeah, I suppose it has hit me in a sense. But I don't think anything vastly changes from the way I approach my job. It's just that now you're going to be in more segments and a little bit more spotlight on you, but it's going to be fun. Speaking of Goldberg, a promo for him was aired on Smackdown last night, as he will be on Raw, likely confronting Bobby Lashley during the second night of the draft. WWE is preparing to host their Saudi Arabia event Crown Jewel on the 21st, where Goldberg is expected. It seems that Raw will be used to set up a grudge match between himself and Lashley, as this could put the WCW legend on a path to collide with the WWE champion Big E. With the AEW champion Kenny Omega edging out Universal Champ Roman Reigns for the top spot in the PWI 500, Chris Jericho explained on his podcast why Omega took the #1 ranking. I don't think Roman had as many great matches as Kenny did, just by proxy of what WWE is and what AEW is, and like you said, combine that with what he is doing in Mexico and the Impact stuff. And that's kind of Kenny's gimmick. And Roman might have a little bit more on the character department, where Kenny has really pulled that up as well with Don Callis. So to me, I think you picked it right. Kenny is #1, and I think Roman is #2. Omega, on the other hand, said Roman could have easily been #1, as we'll have to see how their championship reigns play out going into next year. While AEW had plans to hold their Fyter Fest event in the UK last year, the pandemic threw those plans to the wayside, as Tony Khan hopes that can change next year. On Busted Open Radio, the AEW president talked about the company going on an international tour. I do really want to do an international tour next year in 2022. I'm not sure if we'll hit a lot of different cities or if we'll focus the international trip primarily on Craven Cottage, the home of Fulham Football Club. The stadium is very, very near and dear to my heart. With our relationship or ownership of the Fulham Football Club and our relationship with the fans, and having such a great venue to do a show in such a historic venue, and I would really want to put my focus on that if we do go overseas, and I don't know when we'll do it, but it's something I'd really like to do. Following the release of Dark Side of the Ring's Plane Ride from Hell special, Ric Flair has been in the middle of controversy. While there were originally rumors of Flair finding his way to AEW, it seems that has been put on hold, with fans petitioning the company to not sign him. Not only has WWE done away with Ric Flair in their opening package, replacing him with Ultimate Warrior, network partners don't want him back either. As Ringside News reported, when asking about what WWE's network partners want, we discovered some interesting information. They flat out don't want Ric Flair back. We were told no network wants Ric Flair right now, because he's a pariah. Fox wants nothing to do with him, and neither does USA Network. After his shocking release from WWE earlier this year, Braun Strowman was a part of the Fight TV debut for Free the Narrative, which featured him facing EC3 in an interesting match. After their bout aired, Braun sent a message to his opponent, saying, "All I can say is thank you. EC3, you set me free from so many things I had locked inside me that I never thought I'd be able to overcome." You want to see a monster become more than he thought he was capable of? With Strowman previously reported to be in talks with Impact Wrestling, we'll have to see where the monster among men ends up. When it came to the draft on Smackdown, interestingly enough, the Raw Women's Champion Charlotte Flair was picked for the blue brand. As Wrestling Inc. reported, Fox officials specifically asked for Flair to be brought to Smackdown in the draft. With her holding the Raw Women's belt, she seems likely to either lose the title to a superstar from the red brand or possibly switch championships with the Smackdown champion Becky Lynch, as she should be drafted to a brand on Monday night. With his WWE non-compete clause expected to run out on the 29th, Bray Wyatt will be able to sign with another promotion. As Fightful noted, "We did confirm Impact has interest in Wyatt, and had asked for a member of their roster familiar with him to reach out in an effort to recruit the former WWE champion." While there is no clear indication as to where Wyatt will go, AEW has reportedly spoken to Wyatt. Following Smackdown, WWE would reveal supplemental draft picks as Raw is getting Nia Jax, John Morrison, Reggie, R-Truth, Drake Maverick, T-Bar, Akira Tozawa, Otis, Chad Gable, Apollo Crews, Commander Aziz, Doudrop, and Selena Vega. SmackDown will be receiving Drew Gulak, Mace, Mansoor, Ali, Tony Storm, and Aaliyah. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.